How is everyone doing? Welcome back to another episode of The Banker Next Door. I am your host, Dr. Joe Berquist. Today, I wanted to talk to everybody about some recent changes with the Social Security Administration. A couple articles that I saw that I found very interesting, and I just wanted to share with everybody here in this episode. So let's jump right in. So both of these articles today are from Investopedia. I have links to both the articles in the description down below, as well as a link to the Social Security Administration website, which we're going to take a look at here in just a second if anybody wants to go look at these things. But okay, so here is the first article, and this is called "Some Applicants Will Have to Visit the Social Security Offices to Confirm Their Identity Soon." Now, this was just published on March 31st, so it's about a week old at this point, but that's okay. Still bringing it to you as quick as possible. Okay, so what are some of the key takeaways here? So beginning April 14th, applicants who cannot use an online account when applying for retirement, survivor, or family benefits must visit an SSA office to verify their identity. This is a revised version of the original policy, allowing more time for the transition and affecting a smaller number of beneficiaries. Some advocates criticized the original policy, arguing it would cause beneficiaries undue burden. The administration said these changes would bolster its security services and help avoid Social Security fraud. So, under a new policy, the Social Security Administration will require certain beneficiaries to visit an office in person to receive benefits. Beginning April 14th, some beneficiaries applying for retirement, survivor, or family benefits must visit an SSA office instead of verifying their identity over the phone. Those who are unable to access or use an online account will have to go in person for benefit claims or direct deposit changes. The administration said these changes would bolster its security services and help avoid Social Security fraud. Advocates and beneficiaries have said it would increase the difficulty of getting benefits, as fewer workers and offices could slow the process. Originally, the SSA announced these changes would impact all Social Security beneficiaries, and the agency would transition identification verification procedures by March 31st. However, in the weeks since making the announcement, they have pushed back the timeline and limited the scope of the rule. So why did SSA revise its policy? So Social Security advocates criticized the administration's original policy, saying it would negatively impact specifically senior citizens living in rural areas. They would have to call SSA via the already overburdened phone line to set up an appointment and travel in person to an SSA field office at a time when the agency is closing field offices across the country and radically reducing staff. Max Rickman, president and CEO of National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare, said in a statement, after receiving the initial responses, the agencies exempted Medicare, disability, and SSI applicants from the new policy and delayed implementation by more than 3 weeks. So the SSA plans to cut or avoid spending $800 million this fiscal year, following President Donald Trump's and Department of Government Efficiency (DOGE) goal to reduce federal spending. Part of these budget cuts include reducing more than 12% of SSA's workforce, and DOGE has said about 47 of SSA offices are closing. However, the agency itself said only one of those closing offices was a hearing office, and most of the others were small hearing rooms with no assigned employees. I think this was a good thing to just be aware of. And what I wanted to show everybody now is this is the SSA website. So if you go to ssa.gov, and you'll see right here at the very top, it has a yellow with kind of an exclamation mark and the triangle. Basically, they want you to be aware of this. So it basically says, if you need to visit an office, schedule an appointment first, find out how. So basically, you would just go to the website, click on this, and then right below it, it says what to know about proving your identity. So you can click on that. But then also, this is just the main page for the Social Security website. It just says prepare, apply, and other things here. Check eligibility for benefits, get a benefits estimate, plan for retirement. So just some good things to be aware of here when you're looking at this. So so keep this in mind if you have to look it up, or maybe you've got a mom or dad out there that's struggling, or maybe you've had a parent who's passed away. You got another parent that's trying to figure this stuff out. So just, good things to know and you might be able to hopefully help them out in some way with this information. And then finally, the second article here today was basically, this is called "Full Retirement Age for Social Security Benefits Changed. One expert explains the shift." Now, this is from February 25th. But let's get into this for just a second. So for many years, 65 was the age at which you were able to retire and start taking full Social Security benefits. But a law passed in 1983 changed that for some beneficiaries. The full retirement age for Social Security benefits rose this year under amendments to the program designed to stretch its funding. Retirees born in 1960 or later can only receive their full Social Security benefits at age 67. Workers who can continue for 3 more years until age 70 will receive increased benefits for those additional years they work. Investopedia asked Maria Fries, senior legislative representative at the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare, about the rising FRA and how it affects retirees. The interview has been edited for brevity and clarity. So why did the FRA increase this year? So the increase in the retirement age was part of the last major set of amendments that were enacted by Congress in 1983. They were very close to not having enough money to pay full benefits, so they came up with a bipartisan compromise piece of legislation that would have increased taxes that went into the program and also included some benefit cuts. The increase in the retirement age was one of the benefit cuts that was included in that legislation. It was stretched out over a very long period of time so that people would have time to plan for it. In fact, it was done in 2 increments. The age went from 65 to 66 over a period of about 5 years, and then there was a hiatus of almost 10 years, and then it started going back up until it got to age 67, and that's where it is right now. So what happened to individuals who created their retirement plan with the idea that they could fully retire by 65, but when they retired, that age was now 2 years later? Well, I think most people try to work as long as they can if they're healthy enough to do their jobs and if the jobs are there for them. What people will frequently find is that no matter what they had planned or thought they were going to be able to do, health issues forced them into retiring earlier than they had intended when they were younger. And that means they end up having to claim Social Security benefits. They don't have enough savings or other sources of income to be able to replace them. That's unfortunate. Oh, it's unfortunate. Because what that basically means is they will have less money to retire on than they thought they were going to. So it ends up being one of those situations where they really are dependent on the Social Security benefits. A significant portion of people are dependent on their Social Security benefits for all or most of their income. So when you have situations like that, you really don't have a lot of flexibility. We find a lot of our members, for example, are doing things like not renewing their prescriptions or splitting pills in half in order to be able to afford them, doing a lot of other things to try to cut their expenses because they are dependent on their Social Security benefits for all or most of their income. The full retirement age will now increase for individuals born in 1960 or after. Do you think the full retirement age will be raised in the future? It's not going to go up unless Congress passes legislation that increases the retirement age, which is what the Republicans have been pushing for a number of years. No, they actually haven't. To increase the retirement age either to age 70 or to tie it to life expectancy generally. So, okay, so now basically, if you're working, your current expected age of full retirement is 67. Now, I did do an episode on Social Security. If you want to go check that out, where I basically talk about a lot of this. I talk about, your earliest age that you could retire at is 62, but if you want to work to get the full benefit, you got to work till 67. Full retirement age is 67, but if you want to get the full benefit, you got to work till 70. Now, there is some technicality in that because you don't necessarily have to work, I think, until you're 70. You just have to not take Social Security until you're 70. Like, in other words, dip into your basic retirement savings for 2 or 3 years and then take the Social Security, because then if it kicks in at the higher rate, you get more money. So there are some different, I think there are some different strategies there. Now, I would absolutely tell you to consult with your financial advisor to basically try to find out what you can or can't do, and how you can or can't do it. Might even want to put a call into your accountant too and talk to them about it a little bit. But I mean, I could go on a full diatribe. Yeah, first of all, I don't think there should be any tax on Social Security. I think it's ridiculous. I mean, it's double taxation. You already paid taxes on that money your whole working life, and now you got to pay taxes on it again. Number two is, I think it's ridiculous. I think that they should put the full retirement age back to 62. And I'll just say it like this: the government knows what they're doing, and they do it. They set it up this way to basically to shaft people on their Social Security benefits. That's the bottom line of how this whole thing is set up. So I think you should be able to retire at 62, but I also think that you should have to put in, 40 years. So in other words, if you work from the time you're 22 until you're 62, you should be able to, hey, you got your 40 years in, you're good. Full retirement, you get the full benefit, no questions asked. I think that should really be the requirement. Now, if you don't start working full time till you're 26, then yeah, maybe you have to work till you're 66 to get your 40 years in. But I think something like that needs to be put into place here, because again, a lot of this stuff I think is it boils my blood when I think about a lot of this stuff and how the government basically shafts people on their retirement savings. But I digress. So like I said, I thought these were some very interesting updates to the Social Security Administration, to the program, and just important things to know about. So like I said, if you have some grandparents, if you have some parents, maybe a single mom or a single dad because you had a loved one pass away, a widower, it's just good information to have and good things to know. But with that, I will wrap this episode up by saying, if you like this episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, as that always helps the channel. Remember, we are on YouTube, Rumble, and all major podcast platforms. Please be sure to leave your comments down below, as I always love getting back to everybody. And remember, please check out some of the other content on the channel, as I like to think I've put a lot of good stuff up at this point. But hope to see everyone again real soon. Have a great day out there, and thanks for listening. See ya.